Today I'm going to finally get to answer your travel questions in my travel Q&A. A couple of weeks ago I asked you lovely lot to send me in your travel questions or anything travel related or questions about me or about vlogging, and I was not disappointed. Thank you so much to my 3 lovely subscribers, DIY Spy, Corey Baker 92 and Matt 46Vale, for sending those questions in. They are also on YouTube with their own channels, so do go and check them out. But without further ado, I'm going to jump straight in and answer the questions. How much planning goes into your trips? That's actually quite difficult because it has 2 answers. The first answer is very little, and the second is a lot. I will explain. When I plan a trip, I do a lot of research on the place I'm going to, and I do a lot of research in things that I may want to do. Practical things like where I'm going to fly from, where's cheapest, if I'm going between countries, maybe whether it's cheaper to go by air or by boat or on land, if I need visas. So there's a lot of pre-planning, if that makes sense. I look at the basic costs out there so I can budget. So before I go, there's quite a lot of planning around the place in question. However, I will only book my accommodation for the first few days or maybe the first week, and I will have a rough idea in my head of places that I would like to visit whilst I'm there, and if I'm going to work, when I think I might want to work, but that is it. It's a basic rough outline. And I do this, which is hard for me because I'm a control freak and I love planning. But I do it because personally, I think I get more out of the experience when I don't plan. I have room to move and be flexible with my plans. So if I meet these amazing people that are going somewhere and ask if I want to go, I can go with them. I can find out from people that live locally on the best places to go, and I haven't already planned something else. And I tend to discover the place I'm going to a bit more without having a set itinerary. Question 2. Okay, I'm gonna have to read this because it's quite long, I'm sorry. I understand you can't do everything whilst traveling, so how do you decide on trips/events to miss out on to make your budget last? That's a really good question. I don't work out what I'm gonna miss, I work out what I'm gonna do. And I do this by really thinking about anything that's always been on my travel bucket list, anything I've really wanted to do. So in Australia I really wanted to do a skydive, and I wanted to see the Great Barrier Reef and Fraser Island and the Whitsundays. They were always going to be things I was going to do. It is hard because there is so much to do and see in places. How I make that decision is look at the costs, what is realistic on my budget. I look at whether it's an experience I will be able to do again at some point in the future, or whether it's a complete one-off. And also I talk to fellow travellers that I meet along the way as to what's good and what's not, because sometimes you'll read about things in guidebooks, but they don't always turn out to be that great. So speak to fellow travellers in hostels or bars or wherever you meet people and see what they enjoyed, what they would do again and what they wouldn't. So to summarise, I look at my budget, what's realistic, things I've always wanted to do, and find out from other people that have done those things whether it's worth doing. Which one thing should I definitely do while I'm in Australia? Oh my god, this is so hard. Like, I don't know what you want to get out of your trip. Okay, there are 3 places I loved in Australia that I really wanted to see and do. They're all to do with nature, outdoorsy, exploring type stuff. So the first was always on my bucket list. Even though I'm terrified of aquariums, for some reason I always wanted to snorkel the Great Barrier Reef. If you get seasick, beware, it's not fun, but it's well worth it. And if you can stretch your budget to do a scuba dive whilst you're there, Second thing, Fraser Island, incredible. We did a Cool Dingoes 3-day 2-night tour, link up here to that video, which was amazing, and it is definitely one of my favourite places in Australia. Just such a beautiful, incredible place. And the third is Karanjini National Park, and that was amazing. Like, it's a very spiritual place for the Indigenous Aboriginal people, and you can see why. The only problem with that is it's not all that accessible. You do need a vehicle, or I don't assume there are tours, but they would be pricey. that can deal with the rough dirt roads. And we did gorge walking, we camped out in the nature, we had dingoes at night, we swam in these beautiful pools. Like, it was incredible, but it's a bit harder to get to. So narrowing it down for you, Fraser Island. Do Fraser Island. It's amazing. You'll have a great time. Where do you get the money to travel? Sadly, I'm not rich. I wish I was. So boring answer is I work just like everyone else, and I save. Before I went to Australia, I was working in a hospital, and while I was in Australia, I worked as a waitress, I worked as a night supervisor in my hostel for accommodation, so it wasn't paid, but I got my accommodation for free. And I worked in a roadhouse as well, which was good money and allowed me to save up to fund my trip in Australia, but also upcoming trips. And now I'm back in the UK, I'm working in a pub kitchen as a chef, I'm a cook, saving money for my next adventure. So YouTube does not fund my travels at present. I hope one day it will help to do that, but I do it and I carry on with it because it's my passion, it's what I love, and I really do want to help other people. I'm gonna have to read this one, it's quite long. What's the best way to make your money last on holiday? As in getting the most out of the money you have to spend. Oh, okay, 3 words here. Research, budget, sacrifice. You need to do your research, as in the previous question, about the things you really want to do whilst you're away and how much they're likely to cost. Also, research how you can save money, so maybe things like couch surfing or working for accommodation. If you want to go out partying, find out the bars in the area that have drinks offers for backpackers. Think about if you want to do a road trip, teaming up with other people. Think the ways to save money and research that. Budget, allow yourself a certain amount each week. It's boring, but it works. You will always have things outside of that, big trips, tours, things like that you want to do that will blow your budget for that week. You have to allow that on top, but think about how long you're going for and how much money you have to spend overall, and give yourself a budget that isn't going to leave you penniless by the end of it. Allow yourself a buffer for things you really want to do, and sacrifice. So to make it stretch, you're going to have to sacrifice things. Instead of going out for a coffee in the town centre, use the free coffee in a hostel. Instead of having a luxurious dinner in a restaurant, find somewhere that is a donations-based only place where you just pay what you think for the meal. You'll have to give up a few little luxuries. There will be some sacrifice, but that is probably how I would say you can really stretch it out. How many countries have you visited? 14. I have visited 14 countries. I actually had to sit down and think about this and write a list because I'm not somebody that ticks off each country and counts it as I go. I know I have a scratch the world map, but that's just because I like it. So yes, 14 countries, and hopefully soon that will be many more. Where are you going next? Good question. I am planning a little getaway at the end of August, going to Barcelona with a friend to see another friend that lives there. And then my next big trip, my long sort of 3.5, 4 month, maybe more backpacking trip is going to be Southeast Asia. So I'll be going to Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, hopefully all of those places. So definitely stick around for that. That's hopefully going to be happening in January onwards. That's the plan. This is a quite specific question, but I'm going to answer it because bless you, you've taken the time to ask me and I want to answer anything. So what's the best out of Contiki and Topdeck? For anyone watching that hasn't heard those names before, they are 2 tour operators that operate tours for people between usually the ages of 18 and 30-ish around the world. They're usually coach tours, they include your accommodation, your food, some sort of itinerary. I haven't used either of these, and this was from Corey Baker 92, so I'm going to refer to you as Corey in this. So Corey, I haven't used them personally, but I wanted to do some research for you, and this, from my brief research, is what I gleaned, okay? They are both pretty similar in what they offer. The age range is a little bit broader for Topdeck. I think you get a slightly younger crowd on Contiki. If you're into a party scene and a singles scene, it seems that Contiki is better for that. Contiki apparently is a little bit more expensive, and that is because they have more scheduled things in the itinerary, whereas Topdeck allows you a little bit more time. I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea. You'll have to do your research as to what you think is going to be best for you. Look at the itineraries, look at the prices, look at the timelines. A little bit of advice with tour companies and operators. Personally, having done my own sort of thing, making my own itinerary, I do prefer it, and I know a lot of travellers do, just because it allows you more flexibility. The tour operators will charge a lot of money because they're planning it for you, and whilst I know that is appealing to younger travellers or first-time travellers, I genuinely think you'll probably have a better experience if you go it alone. I know there's a worry about meeting people, and that's another reason why the tour companies appeal, but you will definitely meet people if you're going to hostels or travelling around. You will always find someone to team up with, have a laugh with, have a drink with. You will meet plenty of like-minded travellers. So from a money perspective and a freedom perspective, I would say don't go with a tour company. If you're someone that just wants to say, I've been to this country and this country, and just sort of see a little bit of what it's about with an aim to maybe go back there and explore more in the future, then tour companies are great. If you're somebody that really wants to see the country and explore it and feel the vibe and see the culture and the different people, plan your own trip. Do what's right for you. But that is my personal advice. I hope that helps, mate. This is the end of my Q&A session. I have really enjoyed doing this. I hope the answers have helped you out. If you have further questions on my answers, pop them down below. This is a feature I would like to do on the channel on a regular basis, so keep your eyes and ears open on my Facebook, my Twitter, and on YouTube for further upcoming Q&A videos. I'll see you later. Much love.